either big or small, or anything that's kind of influencing you that you haven't really talked about before, that you kind of look forward to people seeing, that kind of similar but different from something that happened in history?
I don't know, Dan. I'm going to tell me out on this one. I mean, we were pretty focused on I mean, originally we were thinking about different periods, right? We looked at different periods because essentially, like when my preference in universe creation is to sort of pick a time in history that's pretty interesting, that you think will apply to kind of the situation that you want, and then sort of place that in a fictional sort of future universe. Because I always think that like historical situations, when you place it in a future world, they actually make the future world sort of feel real, because it's something that you sort of you just know. It's like, I mean, if you think about like the Foundation trilogy, which is one of the great sci-fi, actually it's more than a trilogy now, I guess, but Foundation series, I should say, one of the great sort of sci-fi series, and that was based on essentially exactly the same thing. It was the fall and decline of the Roman Empire, and there's quite even Star Wars has a certain aspect of that. Yeah, I mean, sort of the earlier stages, right, where it's shifted from a republic to a sort of essentially a dictatorship. So I think we kind of considered. Let's see, what do we consider? We considered.
It was like the 13 Kingdoms of China.
Yeah.
Where it's like all the warring clans.
And we considered sort of the colonial European powers, more the 16th, 17th, 18th century. But I mean, I think ultimately we sort of fell on this because we thought it had the most possibility and could be this most similar to what we wanted for the UEE. And we have the Zhan, which are the proxies for sort of the East, whether it's the Persian Empire or China, and the Vandal are sort of the proxies for the Visigoths and the Vandal. So I'm just trying to think if I mean, in terms of the rest of it, I mean, we're more, once we've set that up, I think we're kind of just extrapolating what we set up into kind of what logically makes sense. I'm trying to think if we have any other historical.
Not really. I mean, from what I remember, like when we initially kind of decided that we then I think spent a lot of time talking through the basically what ended up becoming the time capsules, where it was like just talking out the progression from now until the game starts and figuring out, and it felt like at that point that's where it started to divert from the historical thing and take on a life of its own. So it's like, having the whole Messer era where, humanity sort of succumbed to a dictatorship and then came out of it, and all this type of stuff. So I think at that point, we kind of stopped looking as much on sort of historical references and just started to kind of judge it on its own merits.
Okay. Kind of going back to, I mentioned, exploration was something that I particularly was interested in. Are you going to have, you've talked about going out exploring, trying to find things that, are valuable or, worthwhile of having, and those may be in some of the more dangerous areas, but are there also going to be things more just to see, just for that wow factor of that, you find a new system and maybe the big deal is that system has a collapsing star, or it's on the edge of, a nebula or something, where it's just the awe factor of that Hubble telescope picture right there in your face in game, where maybe you can or cannot actually fly up to it, but just being able to see it and kind of have that essence of being somewhere where in real life we could never go and never see with our own eyes.
So one of the really nice things about CryEngine is that it's like really powerful and it does a whole bunch of really great visual stuff. And so we're pretty focused. I was saying it in the previous sort of Skype interview we were doing, is that a sense of like terrain in space and a sort of beauty to some areas of it. So we'll definitely have sort of some like I guess destinations that you would go for. Like kind of the same way you would go up to the Arctic Circle to see the Aurora Borealis, or you would go to Niagara Falls or something. So there's definitely going to be that, and we're definitely focusing on actually adding more specific content for people that want to be explorers, because that was actually one of my surprises when we did we did the poll like not that long after we finished the initial campaign, and I think 60-something% of the players said they wanted to be explorers, and I was guessing it was much more oriented towards combat, which I thought was super cool. So then we were like, okay, well, it's got to be. It's more than just like discovering jump points and new systems. There's got to be like some other aspects of exploring, charting. Like even known systems, there'll be areas that aren't fully charted, and if you go and fly it, you can chart it, and then once you chart it and find locations, and you can map those in your nav map, and then you can share them with your friends, or you can actually sell it on to a larger group if you want to sell it back, and then other people would have access to that. So they're just, we're focusing on trying to have, a fair amount of things that, for instance, people that just want to do the exploring, mapping, all that kind of stuff, they can do. And part of that will be like some great like locations to go visit. So, that's part of the design philosophy is we're trying to think of ways to get people to fly around the galaxy, not just stay in one area. And so one of them obviously would be sort of like that, go see the seven wonders of the galaxy kind of aspect of it. The other one would be, not, you shouldn't be able to just go onto one planet and there's like a superstore that they set by every ship and every weapon. It's like, no, if you want to get you want to go get an Origin ship, you really want to go to Terra, but if you want to get this kind of ship, you need to go to this other planet, and if you want the best laser gun, it's made by this manufacturer over here. And so in some ways you sort of do some flying around the galaxy to essentially build up your ship and kit it out with the sort of stuff you do. It's not like you just go one-stop shop, or Amazon shows up on your doorstep with all the pieces for your next build.
Absolutely. Okay. Any chance? Obviously you had the limited Vendus guys. Any chance of getting any Banu or Xi'an ships, limited ships at any time before release?
Well, we haven't started the design of like the Banu or the Xi'an ships. We've designed the characters, but we actually, that's something that's part of our asset list to do. So we'll do that, and depending, them. I'm not sure whether we would necessarily make them for sale, but maybe we would for, funding reasons, just because it's pretty awesome that we're the way we're going, we'll basically be able to fund this completely from the community, and it's a big, huge game. So it's pretty amazing that the power of a community wants to see space sim and to this level of quality that they're willing to back like that, and incredibly thankful to everyone for that. It's amazing, and I think the whole team feels the same way, because it's sort of a dream creative job for us, because it's like we don't really have anyone to answer to except for the community, and the community just wants a really cool game, right? And the community's got lots of great ideas, and so it's a great way. So we may potentially do that, but we have to design the Banu and the Xi'an ships that you're going to be encountering in the Play of Star Citizen and Squadron 42. So I won't rule it out, but there isn't like a specific one that we're saying